us all they can. They stood up and fought to protect us in this hard and bitter land. Their trials must give us privilege, every woman and man. None are free unless all are. We pledge our lives to take back our land. You know it's time to stand like a people. You know it's time to stand like a people today. It's time to stand like a people. Stand up and say, no more wondering, we are finally on our way. They have given us all they can. They stood up and fought to protect us in this hard and bitter land. Their trials must give us courage, every woman and man. None are free unless all on. We pledge our lives to take back our land. You know it's time to stand like a people. You know it's time to stand like a people today. It's time to stand like a people. Stand up and say, no more wondering, we are finally on our way.
Morning, Wose. How you doing? That was an old school Wose song, Time to Stand Like a People. I used to be the anthem of Wose. They used to sing that song every single Sunday. Yes. Every single Sunday. And we've kind of gotten away from it. If you'd like to hear more of it, just raise your hand. All right. We'll do it some more. Okay. That was old school. We're going to do some old school songs from two old school songs from another tradition. We do what we do and change the words a little and kind of made it Wose, but they're from a Christian tradition. So one is a song that we've done before, and the other is a first-time song. We hope you like it.
I love you, I love you, I love you right today, because you cared for me in such a special way. And yes, I praise you, I lift you up, I will magnify your name. That's why my heart is filled with praise. My heart, my mind, my soul belongs to you. You paved the way for me. Yes, you did. All through our history. And yes, I'll praise you, I lift you up, I will magnify your name. That's why my heart is filled with praise. I love you, I love you, I love you right today, because you cared for me in such a special way. And yes, I'll praise you,
I praise you,
I'll lift you up, I will magnify your name. to you.
You paved the way for me.
Oh, yes, you did.
All through our history. And yes, I'll praise you.
I'll praise you.
I'll lift you
I'll
up.
praise you.
I will magnify your name.
That's
why my heart is filled with praise.
That's why my heart is filled with praise.
That's why my heart is filled with praise.
That's why my heart is filled with praise.
That's why my heart is filled with praise.
That's it. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. When I walk. Oh, when I walk. Oh, when I walk into old say it was a happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
When I walk.
When I walk.
Yeah, when I walk.
When I walk.
I said when I walk.
When I walk.
To this place we'll say.
Oh, happy day.
It was a happy day.
Oh, happy day.
I learned about
The sacred African way. Sacred African way. And how to work and study, meditate and pray every day. Every day.
oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
When I walk.
When I walk.
I said when I walk.
When I walk.
When I walk.
When I walk.
To this place we'll say.
Oh, happy day.
It was a happy day.
Oh, happy day. I learned about the sacred African way. Sacred African way. And how to work and study, meditate and pray every day. Every day. Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, when I walk.
When I walk.
When I walk.
When I walk.
I said when I walk.
When I walk.
Into this place we'll say.
Oh, happy day.
It was a happy day.
Oh, happy day.
It was a happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, a happy day now.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, it was a happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, it was a happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, it was happy.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, so happy.
Was a happy day. Happy.
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 happy, happy,
Happy,
happy. Thank you, Baba Tai. Okay, morning, we'll say again. Morning, morning, morning. So I hope we uplifted everybody a little. You know, we have to mix it up. We got to mix it up because, you know, life is full and rich and full of loveliness and also sorrow. So we got to keep it balanced. Okay. So the tribute today, I chose to do a tribute to Octavia Butler. Who has heard of her? Who's read her? So I was going to bring my computer and decided not to. And so anyway, I'm going to make this short and sweet. She was a sister from California. Sister Octavia Butler was born in 1947, and she lived in Pasadena. She's an ancestor now. She left us in 2006. She was just 58 years of age. But her dash was full. She had a full life, and she lost her dad. Her mother and her lost her dad when she was still a baby. So her mother was the sole supporter of. This is the only child that she was blessed with four other babies that she lost, and Octavia was the one child that came to life. So her mother had to do menial work, or what's considered menial work at that time. I mean, she was a maid, but she did that proudly. You know, she was able to send her daughter to college. So Octavia attended Pasadena City College, and she received an AA in '68. And she went to Cal State LA for a while. And one of the things that really made a big impression on her was taking a class from Harlan Ellison as a part of her Screenwriters Guild Open Door program. So she wrote her first story when she was about 10 years old. And what stimulated her to write this story was that she'd watched this terrible movie. It was a science fiction movie entitled, what was the name of that title? Something about, Devil Girl from Mars. And that's what started her writing, because she said, this person who wrote this story, now she's 10 years old when she says this to herself, this person got paid for writing this terrible story, and it got to be a screenplay, and it was on as a movie. And she said, I can do a lot better than that. You know, talk about a sense of motivation. Actually, she was 12, and she'd already been writing for 2 years, and she wrote about horses. She wrote about things she didn't necessarily know firsthand. So, and she is considered the first African-American writer to write about the science fiction. And so a lot of writers that have come after her, like Tanana Reeve, really give a lot of credit to this sister for opening the doors and setting the standard for being open to writing science fiction. Because the one thing that she says about science fiction is that it's completely open. There's nobody limiting. It's all what comes out of your mind. So I'm actually reading one of her parable of the Sower series now. And before Octavia Butler, I really, I didn't read science fiction. It just wasn't a genre that I appreciated. But, I have so much respect for, and she's really into environmentalism. That's one of her main themes, that, we are in the process of killing the planet, And she's been on that tip for, 25, 30 years, that the patterns, that what we're doing, how we're treating the planet now, are going to lead to us not having a planet in the future. And so I just come with a lot of, have a lot of respect for her writing. And she received a lot of awards, during her writing career. And she was given a Genius Award. She was considered, and that was the $295,000 MacArthur Foundation Award. It was considered the Genius Award. But she says of herself in her own words that she didn't have an IQ test before that award was given to her, and she didn't consider herself a genius by any standard. So I'm just going to read a few of her words. There are a lot of interviews about her and of her that show you her in her words. And there's an interview on Democracy Now! That Amy Goodman did back in, I think, 2004. So look her up if you're interested in seeing her. So this question and answer piece that I'll read is, who is Octavia Butler, where is she headed, and where has she been? And at this time, she was 56, and she said, I'm a 56-year-old writer who can remember being a 10-year-old writer and who expects someday to be an 80-year-old writer. I'm comfortably asocial, a hermit living in a large city, a pessimist if I'm not careful, a student, endlessly curious, a feminist, an African American, a former Baptist, and an oil and water combination of ambition, laziness, insecurity, certainty, and drive. And so the next question that was asked of her is, what have you written? And she said, novels, short stories, and essays. I've had 11 novels published so far. They are Pattern Master, Mind of My Mind, Survivor, Kindred, which some of you may know, Kindred, Wild Seed, Clay's Ark, Dawn, Adulthood Rights, Imago, Parable of the Sower, and Parable of the Talents. She goes on to say, the Parable of the Talents won a Nebula Award in 2000. I've also published a book of short fiction and nonfiction called Bloodchild and Other Stories. One story in this collection, Speech Sounds, won a Hugo Award as the best short story of 1984. Okay, and then she goes on, the last question that was asked of her, what were your educational preparations for a writing career? She graduated from Pasadena City College. Then she went on to attend California State University, Los Angeles. She took a few extension classes at UCLA, but the most valuable help she received came from the writing workshops. And to that credit, I just will say, the workshops that I've been able to go to, that my good friend Elmas Abinator holds and does every year, I met Tanan and Reeve Dew, and the caliber of writing, and Baba Kalabazi has attended one last year too. And so these writers' workshops are just amazing, and the caliber of writing, and everybody who comes to these gets so much out of them. So maybe next year everybody can come, or more of you can come out to the VONA writer workshops. But to the credit and life, and to give a lot of thanks to the sister Octavia Butler. Her dash was long, even though it was chronologically not long. She lived to be 58, and she was living in Seattle at that time, and she had health challenges, but she ended up having a serious fall at the age of 58, and damaged, that caused her demise. But let's just hold her in our hearts and thank her for the work and the life that she led. Okay.
Ashe. And thanks, Sister Connie, for that historical tribute. Writers are some of my favorite people. I have a great appreciation from writers. I'm trying to write a book myself, so I have the firsthand appreciation. I did recently finish a short story, published a short story, and it's kind of paranormal, which I kind of focused on. You talking about her love for science fiction, which she's absolutely right. It's just your imagination. Your imagination is wide open with the paranormal and science fiction. My name is Katabazi, and this is the time in the Wose community known as the Litany of Sacrifice. And the Litany of Sacrifice offers an opportunity for us to return to the community a portion of that which we have received for the week. And we have a couple of our young princes today, Sister Karai and Sister Jalea, moving amongst you with offering envelopes to accept your sacrifices. And while they're passing out the envelopes and you're preparing your sacrifices, and while Sister Connie plays on the piano, this morning's inspiration comes from the book known as the Hosea. It's one of the classic cornerstone books of the Wose Community Church. I'm always encouraging each and every one of you to read within the Hosea and become familiar with it. At any rate, this morning's reading is coming from, and I just lost my spot. Yes, coming from the book of the Declaration of Virtue. And I like to kind of skip around in Hosea and try to find pointed passages that I think speak so much to what we're trying to do here. And this morning's passage is on page 95. It's passage number 5. And it's spoken by Nefer Shesham Ra. Nefer Shesham Ra. And he says, I have spoken truly and done right. I spoke justly and repeated that which was just. I seized the right moment so as to stand well within the people. I judged between two in such a way that would satisfy both of them. I rescued the weak from those who were stronger as much as was in my power. I gave bread to the hungry, clothes to the naked, and brought the boatless to dry land. I buried those who had no children and built a boat for those who were without one. I respected my father, pleased my mother, and raised my sisters and brothers. Thank ancestor Nefer Sheshem Ra for those words. Somewhere in your vicinity should be a black binder. Thank you. And within that black binder on page number 15 is a beautiful copy of the Wose Litany of Sacrifice. And so as Princess Jalea go to the altar, we have Brother Bakare at the altar. Brilliant young brother, handsome, growing up beautifully. We give thanks. Huh? Yes. And so we could get everybody to please stand. And so if you have not retained this litany of sacrifice to memory, again, it's on page number 15. And with everyone standing and With Sister Connie still playing, let us read together. Save us, O Holy One, by your name. Vindicate us by your might. Hear my prayer, divine protector. Listen to the words of my mouth. How can we repay the Holy One for the gifts that have been given to us? We will lift up the cup of salvation and call upon the God of our ancestors. We will fulfill our vows to our Creator in the presence of all our people. Gladly we bring our sacrifices to you. We will praise your name, O Amen Ra, for it is good. Umoja, unity. We shall strive to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Kuja Chagalia. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We shall build and maintain our community together. Our brothers and sisters' problems shall be ours to solve together. Ujima. Nia, purpose. We shall make our collective vocation the building and development of our community and the restoration of our people to our traditional greatness. Kuumba. Let's read together. Imani, faith. We shall believe with all our hearts in our Creator, our people, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. Amen Ra. Ashe, thank you. Kneeling pads have been laid at the front. Others, you may assume a comfortable position at your seat. I will take a few moments to bless these sacrifices. As Sister Connie continues to play. And with the meditated heart, O Holy One, we give thanks for another day. We thank you for our lives. We thank you for our health. We thank you for loved ones in our lives. We thank you for this place called We'll Say. We ask, O Holy One, that you be with us in this work, and be with us in this effort, that these sacrifices may be multiplied, that we may be able to do our work more powerful and more effectively. We continue to pray, O Holy One, for the vision and for the insight of this work that we have undertaken. We thank you for this place, We'll Say, a crucible that allows us to restore ourselves. And as we restore ourselves, we restore our families and our community. We ask and we pray, O Holy One, for continued strength and encouragement to be able to go forward, to share that which we have, to be able to accept that which we can't change. Help us to understand many around us, the degradation, the suffering, the violence. Give us strength, O Holy One. Help us to remain on the path of Mott, that we may avoid these missteps, that we may avoid that negativity, and that we may remain strong and be a model for others, and that we may do our work here on this earth. And when our time is up, we leave the memory of ourselves as the smell of a fresh and beautiful fragrance. Be with us, O Holy One. Be with the one that will come with a word, with a positive word, with a word of hope and inspiration, and an informative word that will help to clear away much of the fog of life. Let us open our hearts and our minds to comprehend and to accept and to internalize that message. Be with us throughout the remainder of this service. Bless each and every one that contributed. Those that did not, bless them as well. We contribute funds and time and talent here at the Will Say. All is welcome. In the name of the ancestor that sacrificed and suffered so much that we might be here today enjoying the measure of freedom that we do, and in the name of the one creator, the unseen one that we call Amin Ra, Ashe. And, of course, he needs no introduction. I believe our speaker for this morning is that's Minister Greg.
Good morning, family. It's good to be in your presence this morning. If you know that Amin Ra is good all the time, say Ashe. If you know that you are a divine creation of that same God, say Ashe. If you love your children, say Ashe. If you I don't know if this is on. If you love your mama and them, say Ashe. We give thanks, we give praise, and we give water. I know the kitchen is, first of all, it's a sign of progress. Say Ashe. We're about to, for our guests, after a long time, we're about to remodel our kitchen. And we have a full-service school here. Our children come on a daily basis. Mama Rose, who's sitting here in the back, Mama Rose. She is our chef extraordinaire, grandmama emeritus, big time. Yes. And I know she is real pleased that the kitchen is about to be done. So we give thanks to the whole Awakoye family and all of you, thank you, and Ile Omide family. We all come this morning for the same reason. We know that God is good. We know that our ancestors lived lives worthy of emulation, of modeling. Ashe. We know that our elders, who I asked for permission this morning to continue, are always struggling for us to do good. And so to our elders in the room, I respectfully ask for your permission to continue as part of our tradition. And they say Ashe. And please give all the elders a round of applause this morning. I want to just remind you of some things that you already know. And in doing so, before I really jump into this, I want to say it's good to see Brother Raymond Davis. Always good to have you in the house. And our Wose family is broad and wide. And anytime you go to almost any important gathering in Oakland or the San Francisco Bay Area, you're going to run into somebody that is part of our extended family. And so a couple Saturdays ago, I was at the memorial service, homegoing celebration for Kevin Weston. Kevin was an amazing journalist and poet and activist. And I was asked to come and do a little drum call and libations because he had requested that. And it's probably because he had come to some Woza event, some Kwanzaa ceremony, and he and I didn't know each other well, but I was asked. And in baseball parlance, batting cleanup was YGB, Young, Gifted, and Black. And they showed up to this, and they set it off as they always do. And as you know, Brother Davis, his wife, Sister Lee, and his son, Hadari, the directors of Young, Gifted, and Black. And he is, I don't know if you have an official role, but I know you're usually around. You're taking pictures and financing this and doing that. It's called being a husband. Well, you're doing it well. So it's good to see you. Brother Davis was a guest lecturer, I guess, this morning in one of our classes. So it was always good to see you. Always good to see you. And to our guests, you're always welcome. May God continue to bless you with life and health. And I've heard the prayer in your husband, and we keep your husband in our prayers as well. And for all of our visitors, all of our guests, you're not guests. You've been here more than 10 minutes. And in Africa, they say if you've been here more than 5 minutes, hand them a hoe. And they start working in the field. So you all, and to the sister who's been here before. I just want to share a little bit with you this morning as I've been moving around, as I tend to do in my work and just in life. And it occurred to me yesterday as I was sitting there mightily trying to repair an instrument that I just bought in. It's a stringed instrument called an Langone. And Langone is a 12-string instrument, sort of like the daughter of a kora that has 21 strings. And I've gotten an interest in learning how to play string instruments before I leave this earth, however long that is. And none of us have anything, nothing is promised, so you don't really know how long so you better hurry up and do whatever it is that you want to do. You know, you can do it with patience in mind, but do it with urgency sometimes matters. And this morning, I want to just share a few thoughts from our ancestors, through our ancestors' words. Get in tune and in tempo with God. Get in tune and in tempo with God. If George Clinton of Parliament Funkadelic times were here, he would probably retitle it, Are You on the One? Because that's what he was talking about. Are you in tune and in tempo with God? As I've been moving around, there have been a couple of highlights I'd share with you. One is that for the 4th year, I've been a key facilitator for the Dalai Lama Fellowship Program. And every year they select young people who are undergraduates and graduate students from universities around the world who are going to do service projects while following the Dalai Lama's core values of tolerance, compassion, and mindfulness. And every year I've been just inspired by some of the people that I meet. So this year, again, there was a delegation from Ghana. And, of course, I take particular interest in the African students because folks are from India. There's some are from Brazil, one sister from Brazil this year, United States. But in particular, I find it always interesting to talk to these young people from Ghana because they've been trained well. All of them so far have come through a Shakti University, which is a relatively new university, a liberal arts school, which is, in their motto, training young people to think. And we got a chance to hear from last year's participants as well as the new participants. Last year, these young people did an adult literacy project because people in their community don't have basic reading skills. They can't read a prescription that a doctor might give for their children. They can't read a basic invoice or bill that comes from a vendor. And so young people are working with them and are gaining ground every day because they met a young family, a little girl who was crying, literally crying in the street. And they met her and stopped her and said, well, who are you supposed to be with? And they found her father. And once they found her father, who was illiterate, and they talked to him, he now has learned to read. He has been part of their work. And so they're doing amazing work on the continent. They're working with pineapple farmers to make sure that those farmers can get their crops to harvest. In India, and I may have mentioned this last year, a couple of the people are from the Dalit community. And if you know anything about India and their caste system, the Dalits they used to be called untouchables. They were in that lowest caste. They look like you. They're the darkest people in the society. And one brother who's just inspiring named Shakti, he came back from his project from last year and came and talked about what they were doing. They're doing amazing work to push up against thousands of years of discrimination in their community and use you as Africans in America, use you as their inspiration. So back in the late 70s, they had a group called the Dalit Panthers. I wonder where they got that from. And so every year when I say I'm from Oakland, they say, Brother Shakti said, Gregory, you from Oakland? From the home of the Black Panther Party. I say, yeah, man. And this year I was wearing a University of Arkansas Pine Bluff shirt that had all of the HBCUs listed on the back. And I wore it for a whole day. And at the end of the day, he put me to the side. He said, I don't understand this shirt. And I said, and he said, what is this historically black college thing? And I said, well, there was these colleges that were set aside and established for black people. And he paused. He said, really? It was so inspiring to him to know that there were some schools that were for black people, where black folks could go and get an education and be inspired the way my mama and them. And some of your parents, some of your children, some of you, Tuskegee and other places, going to Howard University. breakfast, where these HBCUs are doing the work, not without drama and not without trouble, but the dilemma, when I talk to folks and we tend to play some music. So people bring the music they have from other parts of the world. We bring instruments. I bring drums. People bring other instruments, and we play together. And often we have to ask the question: are we in tune and in tempo? Are we all on the one? When I went home, I went to Pine Bluff, Arkansas for a few days. This past week, I have a client in Little Rock, which I'll be going out there a little bit more often. And, as you know, I'm from Pine Bluff. And my mom passed in November, and since then, no one lives in the house anymore. And so this emotional process of going through the house and getting there on Saturday night, midnight, for the first time, and walking into my parents' house and not having anybody be there, not having anybody in the house. And it was a different moment for me. I had to process it because I hadn't expected it to feel the way that it felt. And I use this message today to think about, what did it take for me to get in tune with the home that I grew up in without the people there? What did it take for me to get in tempo in a house where I learned music? See, because as I moved around, and the Most High don't never put nothing on you can't bear. You might feel a little tension. You might feel a little pressure, but you can always bear what the Most High has put on you. Because the Most High wants you to be in tune and in tempo. The Most High does not want you to be off beat. The Most High does not want you to be out of tune. So whenever you find yourself in a situation, sometimes like that, you have to remind yourself of your core keynote song, your core keynote that makes you part of the chord that you're part of. And I met a brother named Raymond Johnson, who's a preacher, and he's also a carpenter. He got to know my mother late in life. And he put in a new kitchen counter and remodeled the kitchen a couple of years ago. And it was interesting because everybody was asking my mother, who was clearly, her demise was imminent. All of our demises are imminent. This is a question of what kind of timing, right? But we all knew that she was on the way out, but she's fixing up her house. And we kind of like, well, who's she fixing up her house for? And I talked to, he's a minister, Raymond Johnson, a minister, and we got to talking about this. He said, oh, your mother was a beautiful person. And I asked her the same thing. Why are you fixing up your house? She said, for my kids. Mama's still being mama. Still working. Still making things better. Still being in tune. Still being in tempo with what's needed. Still being on the one. And Brother Johnson and I had a great conversation because as a minister, and it's funny because in the South, being a minister is like a club. It's like a fraternity. Like the minute you tell somebody you're a minister, oh, come on, brother pastor. And he made huge assumptions about the tradition I'm part of. I ain't have to make no assumptions about him. I know what church he's from, right? So I just say I'm a minister at Bose, and I left it at that. Right? And so that caused for us to have a good conversation because I know how these things go. If I said I was a minister in the Woze community, African way, he'd be looking for Jesus in it. I'd be talking about where that ain't really part of our tradition. It's part of the big tradition. But, instead of going in there, I just said, nice to meet you, brother. And this brother, just a great energy. He had recently lost his 14-year-old son, was a victim of a hit and run. His wife, and this is back in April, so he and his wife are still grieving that. While he tries to he says he really mixes his landscaping work and the carpentry and construction work that he does with his ministry. He says, whenever I meet people, I'm trying to bring God to the situation. I said, me too. So we got that in common. So you can be in common with our folks. Tradition really strip away the trappings of the tradition and get to spirit. Are you in tune and in tempo with God? Not the religion, not the teachings, the dogma, but are you in tune with God? Because if you find yourself in tune with God, you'll find yourself in tune with God's people. So Raymond Johnson had a great conversation. And from that point on, every time he called the house, hey, preacher. Every time he talked to me, hey, preacher. And that puts me in a certain, tune-up, right? He didn't say Bobby Gregg. He didn't say Mr. Hodge. He said preacher. I had to, go, okay. That's part of what I do, right? And as we were leaving, one of the things he did was my mom loved, growth. She had planted all these trees and plants and all this stuff in the backyard to the point you can't see through the yard. And there's a lot of security stuff going on in the neighborhood now. And so we had to take a whole bunch of stuff out. But before we did, Brother Johnson's looking at it. And I love black people in the South for this because we still connected to nature. So there's this big ivy and all this stuff growing up in the yard. And before he did anything, he said, some snakes over there. Just like that. He said, some snakes over there. I said, oh, wow, I hadn't thought about it. You know, he said, there's some snakes over in there. That's where they like to live. I ain't seen one yet, but there's some snakes. And I'm saying, like, well, I'm thinking to myself, you ain't seen no snake. Like how, you know, they cleared it out, 6 foot long. It wasn't a rattler, but it was some on that order. 6 feet long snake comes slithering out. And he said he wanted to find a new home. And he said, because we're going to put some mothballs down there and some other stuff. Some mothballs, hey, whatever works, you know. But I'm saying, I just said that he's in tune with nature. He's in tune with God. And one of the things I found, because, you know, if you're in your parents' home, who they've lived in the same place for 50 plus years, you're going to find some stuff, right? So I started finding stuff. Found my father's high school picture of him in a singing group. It's a nice photograph. So I'm going to do something so my children can see that. And I, you know, when my mom passed, one of the books that I came to have in my house was my mother's Bible. Because my mother's an 82-year Christian. She's born in the same church that she attended till she passed away. But I also found my mother's Hosea. See, my mama had a Hosea. Mama had a Hosea. Got the Hosea right here. And this looked like brand new, too. It's the original hardcover, 1984 version of the Hosea. And I saw it sticking out from a pile of magazines that were sitting there. And, of course, this means a lot to me because I opened it up, and I find this letter that I wrote my mother in August of 1987. And I won't read the whole thing, but one of the things that I had 87, probably going through some marital problems. I said, it was a great conversation with you a few days ago. It was really beneficial to me, ... I've been busy with all sorts of things. We are hosting speakers at Woze, which I am coordinating. I'm also negotiating a deal for the purchase of the building that the church is in. It has gotten complicated. Give Daddy David all my love. But this is like, these are kind of things that, you know, God will send you little messages, right? God will send you little things that help you get better at what you are trying to do. This morning, I'm going to use those stories as a backdrop because my house was a music house. My dad was a musician, for real. That's all he cared about other than his children and God and his wife. And I don't even know what order that was all in, right? That's the stuff he cared about. My dad didn't play sports. He didn't look at basketball, although he did look at championship wrestling on Saturdays. And as fake as it was, he was into it, you know. But my father was about music. And every day, me and my 2 sisters had to get up on school days in particular. We had a rotation. It was a 6 o'clock, 6:30, and 7 o'clock rotation. Piano lessons. So you had to get up and practice. Practice. Talk about practice. Practice. Some of y'all know the reference. 6 o'clock, you had to be 30 minutes on, then 6:30, then 7. And then next week it rotated. So some weeks I was 6 o'clock, some weeks my sister Pat was 6 o'clock, some of Mills was 6 o'clock. And it's 6 o'clock in the morning, it's kind of hard to be in tune and in tempo with anything other than sleeping. But this was the way it worked. Because my dad taught piano lessons to other people's children in the evenings, so that was the only time we could get on the piano at the house. But the thing that was interesting about it was, my dad didn't come out and sit with us at 6 o'clock every morning. That's not what I'm talking about. We had weekly piano lesson with him. But if you stopped playing, you would hear this voice coming from the bedroom. I don't hear anything. And I'd be sitting there under my breath going, because I ain't playing nothing. It's 6 in the morning, I'm sleepy. And so, but my dad was always encouraging us to be in tune and in tempo. He had a metronome. I don't know if you all know what a metronome is, but it's a little device that most piano teachers and organists have sitting on the piano, and it has a little pendulum, and it ticks, and it keeps time. It keeps time. And if you want to go faster, you pull the little pendulum down, and it'll go faster. You want to go slower, it'll move slower. So you have to figure out what tempo the song is supposed to be in. What tempo is your life in? How are you in tune? How are you on the one with God? There's a passage in the Hosea, and I'm going to direct your attention to page 61 of the Hosea, passage number 9, page 61, and you have a copy of it there. And if you find your copy, I want you to read this with me. It's a short passage, and I'm only going to focus on 1 or 2 sentences in this passage. But if we can read this together, passage number 9, page 61. It's a passage right in the middle. Do not speak falsely to anyone, for it is an abomination to God. Do not separate your heart from your tongue, and all your plans will be successful. You will have weight in the presence of others and be secure in the hands of God. God hates one who falsifies words, and the great abomination of God is deception and double dealing. Ashe. I want to focus on do not separate your heart from your tongue, and all your plans will be successful. Think of your heart and tongue as the ends of a string that is strung on a guitar or on a Langone or on a kora. That your heart and your tongue have to be in tune. Your heart and your tongue have to be in tune with the truth. Have to be in tune with balance and harmony. Have to be in tune with order. Has to be in tune with living. Howard Thurman said, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive. And go do that. He didn't say go out and find out what other people said. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do that. What the world needs is people who come alive. And last on this text, Hazrat Inayat Khan, who's a Sufi teacher, lived in the late 1800s into the 1900s, says, the way in which we can find our own place is to tune our instrument to the keynote of the chord to which we belong. Sound is the force which groups all things from atoms to worlds. The chording vibration sounds in our innermost being and can only be heard in silence. Meditation. When we go into the inner chamber and shut the door to every sound that comes from the life without, then will the voice of God speak to our soul, and we will know the keynote of our life. Ashe. We're a spiritual community. We come from a spiritual people. What does it mean to be spiritual, though? It means to be conscious of spirit. It means to be aware of the source of your life. It means to be aware of the goal of your life, which is one and the same. You come from God and you're going back to God. And in reality and in truth, you never are separated from God. You're part of God as you sit here even now. You are part of God's orchestra. Whether you think you are or not, you're part of the band. You're part of the choir. You're part of the people who are going to take music and make it come alive. And that's not the same thing. Being spiritual is not the same as being religious. They are connected, but there's some people that go to church every Sunday, but you don't want them to be your spiritual friend. Things that are true are in religion because they're true. They are not true simply because they're in religion. So the things that are true about our tradition, every tradition, is in it because it is in fact true. It's not made true by the fact that somebody's been doing it and it's in religion. So look to see where is the truth in your practice. Where is the truth in your spiritual consciousness? Getting in tune with the divine purpose and plan for your life. Spiritually minded people want to be in tune with God. You want to be in the same cadence, the same timing with God, the same tempo with God. Think of God as the masterful musician who conducts the universe-wide orchestra with original compositions every moment. And you are part of it. The three questions I'd ask is, number one, what kind of spiritual instrument did God intend for you to be? Not figuring out what somebody else should be playing, because we good for saying, well, you should be playing trumpet. You should be playing sax. What about you? Like, what about when you look in the mirror, what kind of spiritual instrument, using this metaphor, did God intend for you to be? Number two, how do you get in tune and stay in tune? And number three, what is your spiritual manner on the bandstand? What is your tune and tempo that you share with the world? What kind of orchestra member are you? How are you coming alive with music? So what instrument did God intend you to be? What did God send you to play? What did God send you to sing? What did God send you to just Sometimes you just got to hum. Ashe? You might not be able to throw a note out there, but you, in terms of verbalize it, but you can, you know how mom and them was. The grandmom and them walk around the house humming a song all day, every day. See, that's something to that. That's something to that. It's a great metaphor, but it's also a great figurative thing to do. Hum more, sing more. If you're not, quote, a musician, because see, everybody is a musician. Because everybody got a real instrument in your body right now. Your heart is beating a beat. And let it skip a beat. You'll be going, ooh. You take it for granted because you can't hear it. I mean, my body is amazing that you can't hear your heart. Like, if you had to hear that all the time, or when you run up them stairs, you know, you wouldn't function well. But there's something about, like, you are the instrument. You borrowed this body from the earth. And you're going to give it back one day. When I was in junior high, we rented instruments for the band. We rented a trumpet. And I had the trumpet. I used the trumpet. I learned how to play it, kind of, a little bit. And then my father was like, if you're not going to use it, we'll sell it. Well, actually, we rented one, then we bought one. And then he said, if you're not going to use it, we're going to sell it. But see, that's kind of how God is. If you're not going to use this, you're going to give it back. And you might have some trouble on the way, Ashe. You borrowed this body from the earth, and you're going to give it back one day. And in the meantime, you have a song, a melody, a note to contribute to this celestial music. But God requires you to practice. I can't hear you. Like my dad used to say, I can't hear you. You said you was going to meditate. I can't hear you. You said you was going to feed the hungry. I can't hear you. You said you was going to clothe the naked, educate your children. I can't hear you. God requires you to practice correctly. Because that's the other thing. When we did play, my father would be like, that's not a C major chord. Like, man, you in the bed. I'll tell you, I love my dad too. But it would be like, just don't say nothing. But he was like that voice. Like, what tune are you singing? Like, what are you practicing? So how do we get in tune with God? How do we get in tempo with God? First, you got to have an inclination to want to. Just like good musicians. If you play good music, you got to want to. Then you got to pursue it. You got to chase after it. You got to want to be a spiritual person. It's not going to just happen. Ashe? And then, if you are blessed, you will attain what it is that you have been searching for. But the first step is inclination, which is akin to listening. Duke Ellington, one of our greatest musicians, said when somebody asked him about his musicianship, he called himself the great listener. Before he played anything, he listened. I didn't direct any choirs, but I sure listened to a bunch of them growing up with my dad. So when the Stones get up, I love y'all. And when y'all are on tune, I love you. And when you're not, I love you even more. I do. But it's something like in my makeup, I hear it. Right? I may not know how to tell you what to do or correct the chord, Baba, but it's like you hear it, we hear it, we play the tape back, we hear it, right? And when it's good, it's good. Ashe. But it takes listening. The second step is you got to find your voice. Can't nobody sing for you. Can't nobody keep tempo with God for you. My dad had great musicianship, but his musicianship doesn't earn me anything. If I sit in front of them drums or get on some other instrument, I got to learn it for myself. You got to learn your spirituality for yourself. It's good to ask questions. And sometimes people, Bobby Davis knows, people ask the same questions they was asking 10 years ago. It's like, when you going to learn, when is the lesson? The C is still a C. Ashe? And then the third step is you got to perfect it. You got to own it. You got to attain it. Those of us who are drummers, one of the grand teachers of drums, Laji Kamara, said a long time ago in the 60s, somebody asked him, like, well, I want to learn how to be a good drummer. He said, punk-de-punk. He said, punk-de-punk. So the drummers know. It's boring kind of at times, but he said if you learn punk-de-punk and play it over and over every day, you will be a good drummer. Because it's got the 2 or the 3 basic sounds the drummer's supposed to have, a slap and a tone. But some people want to jump to solos and being all like, ooh, yeah, you know, the girls in the audience, ooh, yeah, you know, the boys in the audience, ooh, yeah. No, you got to practice. And then you got to own Ponty Punk. You got to own, whatever your song is, own your song. Master your song. So, Sister Connie, do me a favor. Go to the piano and just hit the middle C. Okay, I'm gonna ask you to play it one more time. I want you to follow that tone all the way until you can't hear it no more. One more time. Now see if you can hum a middle C. Play again. See how that is? And you might have to go take an octave down. Those are all C's. Now give me a major C chord. So a C. Okay, one more time. Now that's a chord. God ain't expecting you, thank you, sister. God not expecting you to be the whole chord. Just be one note in the chord. Ashe. And I'm not just talking about singing, I'm talking about life. Be one note in the chord. And be around, you could be a minor chord. If you bad like that, yeah. You could be a chord, and you could get a stride bass line going on the side, you know. But you got to start with a note. And it requires listening. It requires tuning your voice, your life to what God wants you to do. And then if you could get with other people, then you got some harmony. That's why in the idea of my aunt, there's harmony. It ain't just you being you. You got to be able to be harmonious. Your note got to fit in that chord somewhere with other people. Ashe? And see, we think, act, and speak according to the pitch that our soul was tuned. See, the Most High gives us variation in all this. And the highest note that you can be attuned to is the divine note. And once you get at that pitch, once you get at God's note, then everything you do is going to be in the manner of God. It's going to be in the sheet music of God. It's going to be in the orchestral arrangement of God. It's going to be in the Ponty Punk of God. It's going to be in the of God. Ashe? And that manner of God, see, God, people know you by how you act. People can identify the God people all over the planet. When I run into Raymond Johnson, I know he's God's minister. And that ain't mean he perfect. When he say, hey, preacher, I got my stuff. But we recognize each other the way horses recognize each other by smell. We recognize each other the way Southern folks can recognize each other by, you know, there's some snakes up in there. You know, there's some things that we know together as God's people. And that manner is not only beautiful, but it's beauty in and of itself. When you are in tune, when you can play play a part in that major chord, when you can listen to Ma'at, sing truth, jam with justice, rumble with righteousness, orchestrate with order, hit the note with harmony, be down with balance, be reciprocal in your relationships, then you in tune and in tempo. The ancestors left the Declaration of Innocence. That's like the guidebook for being in tune. I have not been overly talkative. I have not taken food from the offerings. I have not done all those things that are listed in that declaration. That's like the musical manual for how we should behave. Meditation gets you back on tune. Movement, dance gets you back in tempo. Reasoning with others who know truth. If you sit and talk with people who believe in truth, eventually the truth is going to come out. You sit around talking to some knuckleheads, knuckleheadedness will come out. Ashe? That's why this thing is going so crazy in the neighborhood, Mama Conke. A lot of knucklehead behavior going on. We lost a brother from people shooting, shot out the wires from one of these transformers. The brother lost his life because people shooting because it's the 4th of July. And I'm trying to remember, what does the 4th of July mean to me? I'm trying to remember. On this day of all days that highlights the hypocrisy of the nation, Frederick Douglass gave that speech in 1851. I'm still trying to figure out what it got to do with me and my ancestors. Because I don't think we had the day off from toting that bale and chopping that cotton and all the other stuff that was going on. Fireworks for what? Shooting up all your bullets. See, Chris Rock had it right. Make bullets cost $5,000 a piece. Wouldn't be no shooting. Man, as I close this out, know your instrument. Know your capacity. How do you keep your instrument in tune? You have to keep you in tune. And every now and then, you need to go to the music shop for repair. Sometimes you need to sit with the Most High, just you and the Most High, saying, Holy One, fix me. Holy One, heal me. Holy One, help me. The prototypes that our ancestors discovered, the netchers, the orisha, all of that, those attributes, they were giving us a play on the tempo and the time and in tune. Just pay attention for tempo. Just pay attention to your situation, to what is needed from you. Sometimes you just got to look over to see what other folks are doing. Sometimes we sit here and play, and I have to look over at Tyamba's foot. Now, I don't know if you know this. You probably do. But sometimes I have to look at your foot to see what the tempo is. Because in some bands, it's usually the drummer that starts. And they go, 1, 2, and then they hit, right? You start playing, and sometimes I have to look, and I look at your left foot, because you're usually not using the dampers and stuff with your left. This is a music conversation, right? So I look and see where you keeping time. Sometimes you got to see what other folks are doing, but be sure that they know what they're doing. Don't get on the, James Brown said, get on the good foot. Don't get on the off foot. So you try to look at white people dance, you'll be all messed up for most of them. You got to look at somebody that's kind of keeping time, and then you can do a lot of stuff off of that one, right? Ashe. It's like that metronome. Look at the world you inhabit. Look at the song for your time. See, we need to create a song, so to speak, in these neighborhoods that moves in a different way. And sometimes the strings break when you're tuning them, but if you don't tune them, they ain't gonna never sound good. You can get more string. You might break them, you might overtune it, but then you got to call somebody for advice. Take time to learn and get it right. And keep trying. Do it over and over and over again. Don't separate your heart from your tongue. Let your heart and your tongue be in tune. Let your heart and your tongue be in tune with what is righteous. Let your heart and your tongue be in tune with what makes you come alive. Let your heart and your tongue be in tune with the needs of the people around you. Let your heart and tongue be in tune with the other spiritual seekers on the same path. Let your heart and tongue be in tune with the Most High. Ashe. I'm going to ask you to please stand with me. We invite you to join us in this work. This is an opportunity for you to join the Wose community. I don't know, are we having food today? Because I don't know, with the kitchen being what it is, snacks. We're having snacks, okay. Excellent. so nice to meet you. The tambourine. That's what we're trying to cultivate, y'all. So, and I'm almost like, now we got them started. I know. That was good. All right. Very good. All right. Lift everything. Now to the ones who are able to keep us from falling, the ones that taught us for countless generations that we are one people, having one faith, one destiny, one God. And call that name that our ancestors have taught us for countless generations. Let us all sing. You are the most beautiful people on the face of this earth. Birthdays.
So everyone knows, due to the closure of the kitchen for renovations, we're only having a light snack. So help yourself at the back table.